This is BBC One, and now we're going to the BBC Newsroom.
Ahead. You're watching BBC News. I'm Anita McVeigh at the Lindo wing of St Mary's Hospital in London. The Lindo wing, of course, the private wing of the hospital where the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge have been since early this morning, awaiting the arrival of their baby. And with me is our royal correspondent, Peter Hunt. What news do you have, Peter?
I can tell you that the Duchess of Cambridge, as the statement says, has been delivered of a son. And so we know that that will be a Prince of Cambridge, and he will be the first Prince of Cambridge to be born for more than 190 years. The last was the grandson of George III, and you can hear the cheers there.
Absolutely.
As the news is disseminated.
Huge crowds have been gathered here, of course, all day, growing throughout the day, and you can hear them in the background, I'm sure, cheering at the news that the Duchess of Cambridge has given birth to a son. And Peter, after all our discussions about the changes to the laws of succession and much anticipation that perhaps if she had a daughter, here we would be seeing really a very historic moment with centuries of tradition overturned. Well, then she goes and has a boy.
Still an historic moment, but not
absolutely
as historic as it could have been. This boy, this baby boy, I'm still waiting for the email to load so I can tell you its weight and correct time of birth, but this boy will be a monarch of 16 countries. It will be Supreme Governor of the Church of England. It possibly will be head of the armed forces. It will be head of the armed forces, possibly head of the Commonwealth. So quite a lot of weight on this tiny little baby just after it's uttered its first cry and had its first breath.
And Peter, obviously we imagine that the change to the plan was published, if you like, the expected plan of the announcement of the birth. That's happened because of, I presume, Kensington Palace's concerns that the news would leak out ahead of the scheduled announcement.
I think it's about leaking. I think they just decided this would be simpler and easier. I mean, their initial plan, and they always admitted that the initial plan may be tinkered. It's been tinkered with rather significantly.
Sorry, Peter, I'll just interrupt you. The weight of the baby, we're told, is 8 pounds and 6 ounces. So now we know it's a son for William and Catherine. And I'm just being told that the baby was delivered shortly after 4 p.m., 4:24 p.m. and 4:24 p.m. Yes, all this news just being relayed to us outside the Lindo wing here at St Mary's, and the world's media, which has been gathered here, relaying that news around the world with enormous interest. We're told that the Duke of Cambridge was present at the birth. He, of course, was on paternity leave. He had taken paternity leave from his RAF duties to spend the last 7 days or so with Catherine. We believe that she was around a week overdue and therefore was travelling with her to the hospital this morning, has been by her side and certainly was present for the birth, as one would expect of a very modern couple. Peter, and now the process begins, I suppose, of trying to balance their private life with the enormous public interest that there's going to be in this little baby.
But crucially, what we're going to see here is what we've been talking about is the theatrical moment. At any moment now, Ed Perkins, who is the couple's press secretary, will walk down those steps. He'll have in his hand a foolscap piece of paper which will have those details we've just broadcast about the birth. He'll be driven in that car with a police backup car to Buckingham Palace. The announcement will be placed in a frame and then placed on the easel. And the easel is the same easel used for Prince William back in 1982. So there'll be the theatre, but of course there won't be that great sense of expectation that we thought there would be as the camera zooms in, because they've already told us the detail that is in that bulletin, that it will be carried out any moment now and driven to the palace.
And perhaps even though we know those details, still we won't lose that sense of occasion, will we? There's still a huge royal drama unfolding here before our eyes.
As unfolded in 1982, unfolded in a much greater sense now here today because of the considerable international presence. Wherever you look is here. People are broadcasting many languages, not just English, to an expectant world, and that expectant world has now learned that William and Kate have a baby son.
And we were just talking before we started to hear some details of the baby about the change in the planned announcement. Obviously, we're still going to see that message been taken to Buckingham Palace, but Kensington Palace releasing these details ahead. Because, of course, when Prince William was born, when Prince Harry was born, we didn't have 24-hour news channels, we didn't have social media, all these means by which the news might leak.
I mean,
let's just watch.
This is Ed Perkins, the Queen's press secretary. William and Kate's press secretary. People cheering. He didn't get in the car. He just handed over the announcement, and it's now being driven off. And it has a police escort as well. And that will make the short journey from here to Buckingham Palace, where, as we say, it'll be placed in a frame and on an easel and displayed for the world, and particularly for the many people who've spent their time there at Buckingham Palace to see.
So a great cheer and from the crowd, and a smile indeed from the press secretary as he handed over that notice to the waiting driver. So tell us about this baby and what the baby might be called. That's the next big area of speculation, isn't it, Peter?
There are two things I've safely avoided concentrating on. One was whether it was a boy or a girl. I was safe it would be one or the other, and the other is names. That is very much in the couple's hands. They said, I remember Kate said to someone, a well-wisher once, that she and William had plenty of ideas, and then friends kept texting with more ideas, which makes it more complicated. So I don't think the name will be announced today. What officials say is it's up to the couple, and when they leave the hospital, they may well tell us the name, and that will be announced, or they could wait. I mean, William's name wasn't announced until a week after Prince Charles's name. Back in 1948, there was a month gap. So the royals do take their time, and there will be a selection of names and a range of names, and who knows? We'll see soon.
And that is as much as you are prepared to speculate.
Yes, I'm not. I feel I'm on the edge on that one.
Peter, thank you very much for the moment. Peter Hunt.
It will be the milestone moments for their child, where we'll see them occasionally, but I wouldn't expect the access to be constant at all.
And we've just heard that the Prime Minister has offered his congratulations to the couple. He says, David Cameron said, I'm delighted for the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge now that their son has been born. And of course, being a son, we don't have all the huge moment of history that we would have had if it had been a girl.
No.
Oh, here comes the notice. Let's just enjoy this moment. Elsa Anderson and one of the liveried footmen.
Elsa Anderson is the Queen's press secretary.
A very simple, by the looks of it, statement, if we can read it from here. Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Cambridge, was safely delivered of a son at 4:24 p.m. today. Her Royal Highness and her child are both doing well. Signed there by some of the medical team who attended to her birth. A very simple, but a very traditional royal custom to do it like that.
That's right, either on the railings or on the easel, and in that very simple way that the doctors have in the hospital have put together.
This day, the 22nd of July, in the year 2013, we welcome humble duty a future king, the firstborn of the Royal Highness, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, the third in line to the throne. Our new prince is the third grandchild of Majesty the Queen and the great grandchild of the Royal Highness the Prince of Wales. May he be long-lived, happy and glorious, and one day reign over us. God save the Queen.
Her Royal Highness, the Princess Elizabeth, Duchess of Edinburgh, was safely delivered of a prince at 9:14 p.m.
In the past, there was a formality to the royal birth announcements. Much has changed. After Prince William was born at St Mary's Hospital, his father spoke to the media.
How is Lady Di?
She's very well, marvellous.
Was it a very painful experience?
Have you ever had a baby?
No, I haven't.
I should wait and see.
And from the moment the new prince appeared on the hospital steps, it was clear his upbringing would be different, less formal. He learnt to deal with the cameras at an early age at regular photo calls. There were some unguarded moments, public shows of affection. And even as his parents' marriage broke down, on important days the family was usually together. William will now be fiercely protective of his wife and child, but controlling the level of interest from the public and the media is increasingly problematic.
The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge will probably say, we know people are interested in this child, but we don't want them set upon, we don't want them frightened, and we don't want them in any way to not think they can't live a really ordinary, happy childhood.
Diana brought her sons up here at Kensington Palace. William and Catherine will bring their son up here too. But he'll also have another strong influence in his life, the Middletons. The Duchess of Cambridge's childhood memories are of a strong family unit in rural Berkshire. Royal life appears not to have diminished that bond. And there is speculation that the Duchess will now go home to Mum for a few weeks.
I think Carol Middleton will play quite a big part in the upbringing of this royal baby. Kate is very close to her, and she is the only grandmother. Diana, sadly, is no longer around. So I think the grand maternal duties will fall to Carol Middleton.
William's childhood broke with tradition. By royal standards, there was greater freedom.
Camera.
It was more normal, there was less restraint. He is likely to want the same for his son, a little boy who will one day be king. Daniela Ralph, BBC News.
Well, I must just read you the statement from the Prince of Wales and the Duchess of Cornwall on the birth of the Prince's first grandchild. He says that both my wife and I are overjoyed at the arrival of their first grandchild. It's an incredibly special moment for William and Catherine, and we're so thrilled for them on the birth of their baby boy. Grandparenthood, he says, is a unique moment in anyone's life, as countless kind people have told me in recent months. So I'm enormously proud and happy to be a grandfather for the first time. And he says we're eagerly looking forward to seeing the baby in the near future. And if anyone was in doubt or had failed to tune into the news that the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge have had their baby and that it's a boy in London, they only need to look up and see the BT Tower there with "It's a Boy" emblazoned in bold letters, shining that out right over the capital.